For joining another Rapid Scale, a Cox Business Company webinar, folks. My name is Mark Szotkowski, and I am the Chief Strategy Officer here at Rapid Scale Communications. And super excited to be asked to come back and present one of these webinars. It's been quite a while since I've done my last one, so I'm real excited to be back with you guys today. As always, we are recording this webinar, and it will be up and available on the partner portal for everybody within 24 hours. And everybody who had joined the webinar today will have a copy of the deck sent to them via email from Ms. Summer Fagoni, our marketing manager here at Rapid Scale. So looking forward to a great webinar today, and hoping everybody is excited about learning how to sell to the IT leader. Without further ado, we'll get this kicked off and get it started. We ran through and tested this webinar, and it probably is going to run a little short today, but that's okay. We'll have a few minutes at the end for questions and answers. Of course, along the way, if you'd like to pose any questions, feel free to chat those over to Summer. She'll answer what she can, and she will go ahead and put those all together and bring them to us at the end so they'll all be answered before the webinar. So what we're talking about today is selling to IT leaders, right? It's a different type of a sale. Traditionally, when we're selling cloud services, as we've shared with everybody on the call in the past, we've had this great opportunity to sell to owners of businesses and to the C-suite of businesses based on how cloud has been marketed over the last, call it 5 to 7 years. I've mentioned this in past webinars that the real large players in the space, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, IBM, Yahoo, you know, they made a real big turn when cloud got to the forefront of what we're doing, and really started focusing on marketing to the executives of organizations and how cloud could impact them, which changed our traditional way of selling IT. You know, if you roll the clock back 15, 20 years ago, if you were selling gear for Cisco or HP or NetApp or any of those companies, VMware, et cetera, you really targeted the IT team, and your approach to that IT team was selling on feeds and speeds and why your product could outperform the other. Well, with the innovation of cloud and cloud coming into the marketplace, we really saw a big shift there, and we saw these organizations say, we're going to sell the advantages and benefits of cloud, and we're going to sell those into the executive suite of, you know, enterprise, mid-market, large SMB customers, and owners of organizations. But today we're going to shift gears a little bit because we know we still have IT leaders who are very involved in the decision. If they don't make the decision themselves anymore, they're certainly heavy influencers. So let's talk a little bit about what challenges are faced by the IT leaders today. And this is in no specific order, but all of this is going to obviously move you towards realization of why cloud is becoming not an option, but the option for all of these buyers, regardless of who you were. So setting up and removing users, right? That's a labor-intensive act that all organizations have to do. And to be fair, it's a fairly simple, straightforward system admin type thing to do. And wherever we can take those types of chores and move those outside of traditional IT, it's always a benefit. But it's something that our IT leaders are looking at doing. So we're talking about labor. That's one of the big things that we're going to look at, how cloud impacts IT labor of these organizations. Of course, once you've gone out and you've purchased your hardware, you've got to get it licensed, you've got to do your patching, you've got to do your updates. Again, all chores that fall under the system admins. And the reason we're kind of focusing on those system admins right now is because they're generalists in the IT world. And typically, they are a fairly well-paid generalist. And when we're looking at well-paid generalists, it starts to challenge the upper echelon of organizations on why am I paying somebody X amount of dollars per year for doing pretty simple repetitive tasks, right? So keep that in the back of your mind. Of course, in my personal opinion, we're getting into what's really on the mind of IT leaders right now. That's security, and that comes in forms of viruses and antivirus, anti-spam, anti-malware. They obviously have to be buffering up their firewalls to make sure that they're protecting themselves from hackers from the outside. Phishing attacks are something that have become so commonplace now that, you know, organizations are really trying to figure out a way, how do I train my folks to not be that person who opens that email from the princess of, I'm trying to think of a fictional land, the princess of somewhere out there, imaginary land, you know, offering $40 million to come and just give them a real quick insight into your bank account information, right? Believe it or not, people are still opening those emails, guys, and it's still a huge problem for IT leaders. IT employee turnover, that's a real challenge for IT leaders right now as well. We've seen a huge amount of turnover in the last couple of years in a lot of our customers. And I think it has to do with IT specialists and IT exceptional workers who want to do well, want to be challenged. And, you know, there are so many opportunities opening up at companies like RapidScale that these IT individuals would rather come work for a place that challenges them, lets them spread their wings, lets them learn more, lets them embrace their passion of why they're in the industry they're in. But it is certainly a challenge for your customers, so be aware of it. And then compliancy and regulatory oversight. These things are not slowing down, ladies and gentlemen. They are picking up, and they are landing squarely on the shoulders of our IT leaders. Kind of rounding that out, let's talk about, you know, millennials and bring your own devices and laptops and mobile phones, and how the new workforce that's coming into the world today is basically telling the ownership that, hey, I don't want your old Dell Asperian 9170 laptop. I want to bring the MacBook that my Uncle Mark bought me. So really, all of these things are impacting IT leaders. And what IT leaders are starting to understand is they would rather outsource a lot of this work and get their internal IT teams focused on strategy, growth, and revenue and profit-driving activities. So really, we're talking about transforming IT from a cost center to a profit center. And just by rule of definition here, you know, a cost center is traditionally a department within an organization that does not directly add to profit, but still costs the organization money to operate. Accounting, auditing, IT, maintenance, these are all great examples of traditional cost centers. And think about the customer's budget. All of your customers have budgets, ladies and gentlemen. And when you start looking at that budget and you start looking at full-time employees, FTEs, IT gets a lot of scrutiny because a lot of their employees are highly compensated employees. So all of these things drive the behavior of organizations and what they're trying to do. If we look at profit centers, these are divisions within companies that drive profit and drive revenue. Sales, account management, sales engineering are a couple to name. If we take the view from the traditional C-suite, right, when they look at IT and they're looking at IT more and more often, they see a group that traditionally moved slowly. They were rigid. They were challenging to deal with. I think a lot of that's changed in the last 5 to 7 years with cloud coming into play, because now IT realizes that, you know, unfortunately, they can be replaceable, and they need to change their mindset in order to become more valuable to their company, and that's a big part of this. The IT departments traditionally purchasing hardware, software, data center, co-location space, guys, on the budget, that's money. You know, implementing, maintaining hardware and software, money. Security of the environment, more money. End user support, more money, right? There are a lot of companies out there who are outsourcing help desk because other organizations can do it for a better cost and provide a higher level of service. And then, of course, we mentioned already the internal IT employees, typically highly compensated, and the C-suite sees these as costs. So I'm going to go down a little bit of a side path here and talk about, traditional capital expenditures and legacy procurement. This is a big, big shift in what we've seen in the last 5 to 7 years. So I think it's really important to set a baseline for all of our folks out there on the call today, and just rewind the clock back 10 years and realize that, cloud, if you thought cloud was a fad, I'm pretty sure if you're on this call now, it's not. If you think it's going away anytime soon, I'm pretty sure everybody realizes it's not. And here's part of the reason why. If you've got a company with 50 to 2,000 users, the larger the organization, the more complex the IT infrastructure is. And the larger the organization, the more time required to do a traditional capital expenditure procurement project. So we surveyed some actual IT professionals and said, give us a good range of what it would really take for you to go out and purchase hardware and do a whole refresh of your compute stack, right? So we're talking servers, storage, VMware upgrades, all those pieces of the puzzle that happen when a customer has to go out and buy new gear. And here's what we learned. There's a budgeting time frame, right? It's typically 1 to 4 weeks to get through the budget, get the budget together, get it approved, and get ready to go out to RFP. When you're RFPing, depending on the size of your organization, we were told it's typically 1 to 8 weeks. 1 week being very short. There's probably a short list of suppliers that they've already have relationships with. 8 weeks being more of a small enterprise type organization that's going out to bid without a predetermined path of who they're going to purchase from. Then you've got to purchase the equipment and receive delivery thereof, right? That's typically 1 to 4 weeks. And then here's the big one, guys. Stage and configure hardware, load and test software, 4 to 12 weeks, right? And performing the cutover, we kind of rolled up into the 4 to 12 weeks. But that gives a total implementation time frame of 7 to 28 weeks. So if we really think about this, time is money, right? And if I'm gonna make a decision to go out and purchase all new hardware for my organization, it's going to take me, let's just split the difference and say it's going to take me 18 weeks to get it done. Really, guys, 18 weeks. That's a lot of weeks, right? We're talking 4 months to get a project done and off the ground. And you're starting to realize that the way of doing procurement in the past, the legacy way of doing it just doesn't make a lot of sense. And then we had a secondary question to the folks that we interviewed. What was their opinion on going out and purchasing hardware? Did they try to purchase just enough hardware for this year, or was it still a 3 to 5 year vision? And they all said, you can't purchase for what you need now. You have to purchase for what you'll need in the future. A lot of them, not the majority, I'd say 35% of them say we don't purchase like we used to, meaning we're not making one huge purchase now. Now we're breaking that budget and purchasing in multiple tranches, right? We're going to buy what we need for the first 18 months, and then we're going to go buy what we need for the next 18 months, and then we'll go do it one more time. But the money's still earmarked. It's still out of the common flow of the organization, so it's not making much of a difference. However, for the majority who said they still buy all the gear they're going to need for the next 3 to 5 years, they all admitted that purchasing that gear, they are going to be running at 50% utilization for at least the first half of the life cycle of that gear. And that's really important for y'all to think about when we get on to this next page. Cloud is changing the perception. It's doing everything different than what we just went through. It's focused in on IT leaders driving profit and growth for their businesses. So we asked IT leaders, what do you need to do to help make this paradigm shift? And they told us, we need to get better visibility into the other business units and understand what they need from IT. That was pretty powerful. And they need to change their perception of being that cost center and transforming themselves more into a profit center. And it's pretty obvious to us all on this call that this should be the mindset, but in reality, IT is a reactionary business. And if you're in IT today, or you've really started to engage with your IT prospects and customers, you'll know exactly how reactionary it is when these folks are trying to do their job, and then they're trying to be strategic at the same time. Remember, the smaller the organization you have, typically the more stretched the IT team is, the less time they have to be strategic, and the more reactionary they're going to be. So let's talk about that paradigm shift, guys. Today, IT is really being demanded to focus on delivering value for their businesses, right? And we all know that if we look at what IT can do, they typically can come into an organization and they're not just there to be reactionary and to be help desk folks. They're there to make those organizations more effective and more productive. And they do this through automation, purchasing of certain software applications, and implementing those applications into the workflow. All of these things make the companies more efficient and make them more productive. So if we look at the implementation of cloud computing allows IT to focus on different things, right? Now, overall strategy and higher value tasks and projects can make the company more effective, productive, and in many cases, more revenue, right? Or more profitable. So I always like to use this example of rolling the clock back to when, and I'm rolling the clock way back, guys, but I'm going to give you a real example that hopefully most of you can remember, or you can go YouTube it, right? Manufacturing was the first place that automation came into play, and IT plays into that automation, right? Unfortunately, for a lot of people, they didn't move quickly enough to get out of the way of automation, but I think we all understand today, if you look at how a car is manufactured, it is nearly fully automated, right? There's not a whole lot of individual man hours going into the manufacturing of a car. And why did we do that? We moved to a manufacturing model around cars that's powered by IT for multiple reasons, but I think if you ask the CFO of the auto manufacturers, they would tell you their costs got cut considerably moving to automation. Recalls went down moving to automation. When you remove human error, you're certainly going to see a different change. So IT doesn't have to create revenue. They have to create profit, and they can create profit and become a profit center through soft dollar savings as well, right? So moving from a CapEx to an OpEx model, the majority of CFOs out there love this, right? I'm no longer making capital expenditures and purchasing gear that I don't know what my life cycle on that gear truly is. If I'm purchasing it the right way, I've got to purchase not only my primary gear, but I better purchase some backup gear in case that primary gear fails. You move to a cloud model, and as a business owner or an executive inside of an organization, you never, ever, ever have to worry about hardware again, right? And if your business is that of being a commercial real estate company, why in the world do you care about purchasing IT hardware? You shouldn't, right? You really want to focus in on what you do, which is sell and market commercial real estate. When you move to cloud computing, that procurement picture that we talked about 2 slides ago, that gets cut dramatically. And more importantly than slicing that down and saving a ton of time, you're now purchasing what you need today without needing a crystal ball to look into the future and say, where am I going to be in 18 months? Where am I going to be in 24 months? how am I going to be utilizing that hardware that I purchased? You know, what happens if that hardware crashes? What if I have a motherboard failure? You know, how long does that impact my organization? If I'm concerned about that, do I have a secondary virtual machine or server running behind the primary just to make sure that I never run into that problem? When you move into the cloud, all of those fears and concerns go away, because now RapidScale is responsible for all the hardware, all the maintenance of the hardware, and ensuring that hardware is up and operating and running those virtual environments for our customers. And then, you know, last but not least, and you've all heard this if you've been on our webinars in the past, scaling of the environment dynamically based on the business's needs. This is just so important for you all to understand when you're talking to customers today, especially those large mid-market to small enterprise customers. Guys and gals, these are real soft dollar savings that can benefit your organizations. They can benefit your customers. Those of you who know RapidScale know that we are very focused in earning the business with you. And when you get us into a decent-sized organization, we are going to be fairly agile at working with them around their terms and conditions of the contract to make it a win-win for the customer and for RapidScale. Meaning, for some of those organizations that are concerned about business downturns moving forward, if they're, say, in the mortgage industry today, you know, we're going to write into their contract that they're going to be allowed to turn their business down by X percentage of revenue committed to our company. And I don't think you'll find that with a lot of our competitors, but that's how we believe we earn long-term clients who are really happy with RapidScale and happy with our partners who brought them to us. So I talked a little bit about hard dollar and soft dollar realizations. So when we start talking hard dollars, right, equipment purchases, maintenance are now with RapidScale. I touched on that. What I didn't touch on was data center costs are now absorbed by RapidScale, connectivity, power, and real estate. These are big costs for a lot of organizations, folks. And by moving them over to RapidScale, they are beginning to shed that light of, hey, I'm a cost center, right? I'm now moving to the OpEx side of the balance sheet. I'm starting to show more value as an IT leader to my organization. I'm thinking outside of the box, right? I'm not looking at doing something in a traditional format. I'm now looking at doing it in what's here and today, and how do I strengthen my position within my organization? Well, I need to bring value to my organization. Hard dollar savings, I hate to say it, but a lot of the time cloud includes reducing IT labor. We find that most of the organizations that we're dealing with today, and most of you know our sweet spot is 50 to 500. We've got customers who are smaller, and we certainly have a lot of customers who are larger. But if we're going to walk in the door with you and make a solid impact to an organization and have a very high probability of closing that business, it's in that 50 to 500, because those IT teams are the most stretched. And when we're selling to the IT leader, most of you who've been on calls with us or who've been out in front of customers with us, you'll hear us use the same phrase over and over and over. We become an extension of your IT team. And that's really what we're looking to do. When we reduce labor, it could be reducing labor to refocus that employee on projects or on application enhancements that are going to do what? Projects and application enhancements for organizations lead to productivity and efficiency upticks, which generally leads to more profitability. So again, we're shifting them from a cost center to a profit center. We become a team member with that IT leader, right? So we always talk to the IT leaders about teammanship. Don't be afraid to have these conversations and use the deck that we talked about today when you're talking to your mid leader in the IT organization, your IT director, your VP of IT. Believe me when I tell you, they're thinking about these things too, guys. And if you come in there and you're well armed to have a intelligent conversation with them, you are going to earn a lot of credibility and you're going to add value to them, and they're going to want to see you as their trusted partner. Time is value. We talked about that before. That is hard dollar savings, guys. If I can implement a new project and that project is supposed to save my company 12% on our energy costs and it goes through IT, and I can do that project in 3 months instead of 6 months, well, then I'm going to take that 12% and I'm going to compound it over the remainder of the year and tell you how much more money I've saved the company. The 100% utilization from day one, this is really more of a soft dollar case. I've got it on the wrong side. I apologize. But nobody wants to run an environment that's running at 50% utilization. It doesn't make sense. If we think about it, in other industries, you don't have a wait staff of 20 people when you can have a wait staff of 10 people to serve your restaurant, right? Now, you may have 20 people if you're doing very high level fine dining, but you're also paying for that utilization, and I'm sure you're getting more bang for your buck. And then outsourcing of remedial workloads at a lower cost than versus internal support. This is a hard dollar savings, and we see it all the time with end user support coming over to RapidScale. It makes more sense for customers to move it to RapidScale and have us do it for them than to employ folks themselves and carry that labor cost on their own balance sheet. We do it at a higher level of success, and we've got the recommendations and referrals from our customers to back that up. Soft dollar savings, increasing efficiency is always a soft dollar savings. Productivity from IT through the workforce, and of course, built-in redundancy with RapidScale's infrastructure. That's a soft dollar savings for customers as well. So, in kind of wrapping it up today, when we're positioning to IT leaders, we no longer talk about feeds and speeds. We're really into discussing their business challenges, their business goals and objectives, and how we can help them and help the IT leaders specifically achieve those goals and objectives together and remove those pain points. Strategy savings, making life easier, that's what we do when we talk to IT leaders. Really hope everybody's enjoyed the webinar today, and I'm going to go ahead and ask Ms. Summer if we had any questions come in.
Yep, we have one here. So are you finding that IT leaders are still threatened by the cloud at all? And if so, how are you handling those types of conversations?
Fantastic question, whoever put that in. I appreciate it. So, of course, there are still some IT leaders out there who are threatened by cloud and what's going on. However, the majority of them are not anymore. And I actually had an IT leader tell me it best once. If I'm not into the cloud and if I can't share with potential new employers or my own employer that I've been successful at implementing cloud solutions and perhaps even migrating my entire legacy infrastructure over to cloud, I will not have a job in this industry long. So I think we've seen a big shift over the last 5 years from IT leaders stating that the reality is if they don't put this into their quiver, right, they need this arrow in their quiver, or they're going to be a dinosaur very quickly. But you're still going to have occasionally the IT leader that says, hey, I am worried you're here to knock me and all my guys out of a job. And we really focus in on that with becoming an extension of their IT team, becoming the sewer system for their IT organization, meaning we'll take on all the stuff you don't want to take on, just flush it our way, and then you guys focus in on the stuff that's going to drive profitability and drive efficiency for your organization. Great question. Thanks for asking.
Another one just came in. What about customers in the 25 to 50 users? Is RapidScale cost effective?
Yeah, great question. So 25 to 50 users, and the reason we put users out there, ladies and gentlemen, is because we could also do, revenue of an organization, but users seems to resonate more with our partners. 25 to 50, 100%. We have a lot of customers in that space. We certainly can help them. What we end up looking at in the 25 to 50, if we're selling our core products, which are desktop as a service, infrastructure as a service, security as a service. They might be a little bit on the pricey side for those customers. When we hit that 50 mark, we really start to get into economies of scale and it being a very easy economic decision. But I would safely say we've got at least 100 or 200 customers who are in the 25 to 50 range. So don't be shy, bring them into the fold, and we'll talk with you and hopefully earn some business together.
Awesome. And I think we are good to go, Mark.
All right. Hey, everybody, it's the bottom of the hour. Appreciate everybody joining the call today. Again, we'll send this out to you. Make it a great Wednesday. Have a wonderful November. Happy early Thanksgiving to everybody. Let's close 2018 strong and go into 2019 better. We'll talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.